Let's look back at Wednesday across the NBA. There are 8 games on. There were lineup issues, there were injuries, there was random blow-up performances, and there was Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and please clap. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Twitter as always at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That is $200 if your bet wins. Visit fanduel.com/lockedon to get started. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We're available on all platforms. Go and hit the subscribe, the thumb, the bell, leave a comment on the video. Do both. Listen to audio and listen to the video, or watch the video. Listen as well, because otherwise just be me yammering with no noise and you won't understand what I'm saying. Unless you've got closed captions, and then that happens too. That's a lot of preamble for nothing. Let's talk about what we need to talk about the games across Wednesday. 8 games in the NBA. We'll do a little bit of a news recap as well. Just a couple of things for tomorrow. Jalen Johnson is out. So that ankle problem that they thought would be okay is not. I don't have any idea how long this is going to last. I don't think it will end him for the season, but it does end your most improved player bets, I believe, for him. That's it. He cannot hit 65 games. Again, a stupid rule, but he is done. So I don't know whether this makes it a little bit more likely he's out for the week, but I don't think he's done. But yeah, their team is in real strife. Obviously, no Jalen, no Sadiq. Wes Matthews is questionable. Okongwu is back, so I guess the immediate thing would be, well, Okongwu will just start next to Capella. And yeah, sure, but is Okongwu still on a minutes limit? We don't know. He played 18 minutes last game. Now, if Okongwu was not on a minutes limit, was playing 28, it was very, very easy out. He's a must-roster player. They've got 2 quality games next week as well, when half the league's got 0. But he might only play 21. Will they even have enough minutes to play him as the backup center and power forward? Because they don't have any other center. Oh, they got Bruno. Actually, they got Bruno. You know what? It does come down to the minutes on Okongwu. It is an ad, because just getting extra 3 minutes or so is useful. That's really the handicap at the moment, is his minutes restriction. But I guess if that gets lifted, then he's got way higher minutes upside now with that open power forward slot for however long Jalen is out. It could be tough there. What if the minutes restriction gets lifted on a game where Jalen returns, and then Okongwu goes back to a 23-minute a night center, backup center? It becomes a problem. Anyway, there's some stuff there for him. We'll talk Pistons more later, but I want to give you the overarching idea of this. Isaiah Stewart's out for the season with his hamstring injury, and more troublingly, Ausar Thompson's out for this season with a blood clot issue. Should be okay, fingers crossed. We know that Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum have dealt with these problems before. Chris Bosh, also, that's on the more severe side, so we hope it's not a Chris Bosh one, and we hope it's more of a Brandon Ingram one, and that Ausar is ready to go for next season. It was always a bit weird why this illness was lasting so long, but even like Christian Koloko, whose NBA career has been ended by it, basically, after 1 year. So we hope everything's okay for Ausar here, and we'll find out more, I hope, in the next few days, next few weeks, about Ausar Thompson and his blood clots and what it means for him moving forward. Again, we might not hear anything in short order, unfortunately. All right, let's talk games. First one up is the Miami Heat, the Cleveland Cavaliers. There were some lineup changes in this one for sure. All on Miami's side. Jimmy Butler returned. That meant Jaime Jaquez moved to the bench. We had Bam Adebayo, who wasn't on the injury report and then came onto the injury report earlier on in the day, and then he was out. So we had Thomas Bryant start. And then with Duncan Robinson out with his back issue, we had Patty Mills start. And then Nikola Jovic returned from his hamstring injury. So Haywood Highsmith went to the bench. So a lot of weird stuff. I sort of talked that maybe Mills would get more minutes with Robinson out because they don't have other shooters. The Bam one was a little bit out of nowhere. The Jaquez one being only a replacement for Butler seems absolutely bang on at the moment. And we'll talk about how that all played out. And the Cavs are the team that was probably more banged up, but they've been banged up for all this time, so nothing changed there. We did get an update on some of the Cavs guys, which I'll talk about when I talk about the Cavs side of this box score. Good win for Miami in the end, 107-104. Jimmy Butler, who'd missed the last 2 games, returned, played 37 minutes and had 30 points with 5 assists and 4 steals. That's great. We haven't had him play for a little bit of time, so that's great to get those numbers in. Big field goals, big free throws. Rozier was also pretty strong. 24 points, 5 dribbles. Not a lot else there, but at least he was really efficient. And then Jovic played 33 minutes. And Nikola Jovic, Little Chungus, was your starting power forward, but he also played quite a bit at center. And it's obviously beneficial for him because Kevin Love was out and Bam Adebayo was out. And I don't think that those are going to be ongoing things. Bam, in fact, came out and said, yeah, like, it's not a bad problem. It's a back contusion. I'm okay. Players lie, but I'm not really super, like, concerned about Bam being a long-term absence here. It would be great to know about it. It would be great to know where we sit with it. But at the moment, I'm not super concerned that Bam's out long-term, meaning that these minutes that Jovic got here are not realistic to move forward and not something you should be chasing or adding, I don't think. So Tom Bryant didn't do much replacing Adebayo. He only played 15 minutes, 6 and 10. Orlando Robinson had 8 and 2. Like, if Bam was to miss, you might consider it, but that's a bit messy. While Pat Mills, 10 points, 25 minutes, 4 assists and 2 steals, shot 27%. Big usage for Millsy. Robinson appears like may have avoided significant injury. It looks like he might be day-to-day moving forward, so maybe one more missed game. I wouldn't get overly excited about Mills. What we did see is Caleb Martin still play a lot of minutes, but nothing. 4 points, 6 rebounds, 14%. The 14% will be something that will improve. I still think he's okay as a 12-team league guy, but I'm absolutely not interested at all in Jaime Jaquez.
Get that garbage out of here!
The player that you would take in the top 3 of the redraft from 2023 had 7 points in 31 minutes. He had 1 rebound, 2 assists, no steals, no blocks, no threes. He is honestly just doing nothing. The beginning of this year, it feels like a fever dream, remembering what Jaquez was doing. You shouldn't be rostering him. He's getting solid enough minutes, but there's nothing good coming out of the box score for him. For the Cavs, the updates there, we had updates on Mobley, on Strus and Wade, and they were updates, but they're also not updates. It was basically saying, yeah, they're like, they're doing stuff, but, you know, we're not sure if the stuff's going to stuff enough for them to get back and play or when it's happening. So, like, it's useful to hear something. It's useful to hear that it doesn't seem like these guys will play on Friday. Strus, Mobley, or Wade. So they're doing parts of their rehab, slow return, blah, blah, blah. So maybe you get them back across the weekend, maybe for next week. But I think it's safe to look at Friday and say they're not there. Obviously, Mitchell's not going to be there either. It'd be lovely to get more of a timetable, but I think we at least got something to tell us they won't play on Friday. Jarrett Allen, 25 and 20 in 39 minutes. Massive minutes for Dracaris LeVert, 37 of them, 16, 5 and 12, and didn't kill your percentages. Every day that happens is a day you feel thankful. And while everyone is out, he is a great option. And we actually got a good one from Darius Garland. 41 minutes, 20 points, 9 assists. Big game from George Niang as well. 18, 3 triples, not much else there. But with everyone out, he's worthwhile. I would much rather him over Isaac Okoro, who had 7 points in 38 minutes and is just not a very good fantasy player. He just is a poor per minute guy, and I think just needs probably one of LeVert or Garland to be out for him to actually step up into 12-10 value. I wouldn't bother with him. He just is not that sort of a player to me. While Marcus Morris's first game yielded big production, this game he had 4 points in 16 minutes, which is probably more in keeping with where Morris is at this point in his career. Let's go on to... I was going to say we go on to game 2. We won't do that just yet, though, because today's episode is brought to you by Nissan. Are you the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further? Do you ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner? Well, our friends at Nissan have a lineup of SUVs with the capabilities to take your adventure to the next level. The 2024 Nissan Rogue is perfect for city drives and for great escapes. Class-exclusive Google built-in is your always updating assistant to call on for almost anything. Gone are the days of connecting your phone. Google Assistant, Google Maps, and Google Play Store are built into the 12.3-inch HD touchscreen infotainment system. The 2024 Rogue is the perfect mid-size crossover for your next adventure. Nissan's incredible lineup also includes the 2024 Nissan Pathfinder. It has room for up to 8 in expansive cargo capacity and advanced available 4x4 capability. With 284 horsepower and up to 6,000 pounds of towing when adventure calls, the Pathfinder is there to answer. So take the Nissan Rogue, the Nissan Pathfinder, or the Nissan Armada and go and find your next big adventure. Shop nissanusa.com. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Say goodbye to busted brackets because FanDuel lets you bet on every game of the tourneys. Whether you're betting on a big upset or it's a one seed, it's time to go dancing on America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That is $200 for you to use on point spreads, on money lines, and even going in and picking who you think is going to win each of the tournaments. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and bet on college hoops until they cut down the nets, and don't forget to gamble responsibly. Okay, so now we can go in to talk about the second game of the day. It was the Indiana Pacers taking on the Detroit Pistons. We had the Pistons, obviously no Stewart, as we mentioned, no Ausar Thompson. They had, without Stewart, they started Tosan Evbomwan, so I'm glad I have to say that a lot more. And Cade Cunningham returned, supplanting Marcus Sasser in the starting lineup. Nobody should be really shocked about that one. That was always on the cards. I don't know how long Cade's going to play this season. I would imagine he does go to the end, but we'll find out. All right, so the Pacers win this 122-103. Honestly, it wasn't really that close. It felt like it was much more of a blowout than what that is. Halliburton had another locker room trip. He's okay. And the numbers are fine. 20-3, 9 assists, 4 steals, 69% shooting. Hard to complain too much about that. And we have been complaining about Tyrese Halliburton, but let me just throw a number at you. In the last 2 weeks, he's the 22nd ranked player. Now, that's not top 5. It's also not 80th, where he was about a week ago. So we're getting back slowly. Still not there. We're getting back slowly. He only played 26 minutes in this one as well. Timothy John McConnell, the man just keeps putting them up, mate. 13, 2, and 6, triple one, 21 minutes. Impossible to ignore it at this point. Impossible. Siakam had another fine game, 25, 8, and 4 in 27 minutes, while Nesmith had 14 in 26, and Miles Turner got into extreme foul trouble. 6 points, 2 blocks, 20 minutes for Turner, who's been quite down recently. I wouldn't go and drop him, but he was down. Now, what did happen is instead of Jalen Smith taking up the action, wow, that sounds rude. Instead of Jalen Smith jumping in and getting advantaged with the foul trouble for Turner, they went with Isaiah Jackson, and we had no forewarning of that. Jackson played 28 minutes. That's huge. He had 10, 11, 6 assists and 3 steals, which is great. And Isaiah Jackson's one of those guys that if we ever knew that he'd locked down a starting job, we would absolutely froth. We would be so fired up about his fantasy potential. It just feels like it's never going to happen. And then after the game, it came out that Carlisle said, yeah, we told Isaiah before the game he was going to get the opportunity today because he's back in his hometown. So great. I would have loved to have gotten the hometown narrative revenge on this one because it actually meant something. Now for the other 50,000 of them, it doesn't, but it did in this one. And that's why he played over Jalen Smith. Andy Nembhard continues to be right up there in terms of the Isaac Okoros of the world in doing very little with minutes. 7 points in 26 of them with 3 assists, while Toppin had 5. And yeah, that's about it for that team. But the Pistons, like we said, there's no Thompson, there's no Stewart. It is hard to read into all this because Fontecchio is going to start when he returns. And the other guy that's been starting has been Stanley Amude, and then he got hurt. So what the hell do we make of it? 22 minutes for Amude, 8 points. Cool. Evbomwan, 30 minutes, 11 and 4. Don't really care for it in 12s. I am caring for Fontecchio if he ever returns. Cunningham started out this game shooting 7 of 10, and then what did he make? Another 3 shots for the game? 2. 2 of his next 12. So ended up with 23, 6 and 10. Not disastrous, but could have been a lot better. While Duran had 11 and 12. And we didn't, thankfully for our eyes, we didn't get any crossover between Wiseman and Duran. Now, that would have really boosted Wiseman into being a 12-team option, but we're not there. 8 and 9. No other numbers. Deeper league stream only. Sasser had just the 6 points, while Jaden Ivey went back to doing damage somewhere. He always does some damage, it appears. 15, 2 and 3. 2 steals is good. 46 from the field's all right, but then he goes 2 of 4 from the line. Like, what are you doing, Jaden? There's always something this guy's doing to hamper his overall categorical value. So look, the guys replacing the Evbomwan, Umude, Troy Brown even. Fournier played 22 minutes. I'm not interested in them. Maybe you cast a small eye at Chimezi Metu. The movement is back for about his 5th team this season. Didn't Metu started in Phoenix, got traded to Brooklyn? Or did he go directly to Memphis? He ended up in Memphis, I know that, and then barely played. And now he's on a 10-day with Detroit, and he fits the need of a power forward because Stewart's out. And he had 8 and 3 in 22 minutes in his first game. He's a 10-day contract. I'm not super excited about it, but I will watch it to see where it goes. Now, obviously, if Fontecchio plays, then he would get the minutes there. But what if Fontecchio just takes the minutes that Amude was going to get, and then Fontecchio, I don't know. We've got to keep an eye on Metu. He has shown in the past to be someone who can generate fantasy numbers. Whether that continues or whether he's even around on this team, I don't know. But we do need to pay a level of attention to that. The Sacramento Kings and the Toronto Raptors, the next game, we knew that with Kevin Huerter out, Keon Ellis was going to start, and he did. And he's going to start the rest of the season, so you might want to get on top of that. And then Emmanuel Quickley is out for the Raptors, personal reasons, so the Shark, Bruce Brown, started in his stead. We'll talk about the Quickley thing in a second. Let's talk Kings, 123-89. Now remember, they're playing against absolutely nobody who knows how to run an offense, nobody who can pass, nobody who can do anything. But we'll start with Keon, who had 4 steals in 25 minutes with a block. This is what the man does. Matisse Thybulle level production. He only had 6 points. He had 2 assists. Did he? Yeah, 2 assists with 4 steals and a block. You want steals, the man's going to get minutes, you roster him. You don't want steals, you don't. Feel like that's about where we sit. He also got a block as well as out of a guard. Sabonis only 28 minutes, but he got the triple-double, 13, 17, and 10, and Fox had 20 points with 5 assists. And the old man, Chris Duarte, had 14 in 19 minutes. Monk only 20 minutes for 17 points. Murray, okay, what do we do with Keegan Murray? I think you have to hold him, but just another disappointing game. 10 and 8, it doesn't sound too disappointing, but he shot poorly. He had 2 steals. He never gets assists. He didn't hit a 3. He didn't attempt a free throw. Really frustrating. And speaking of frustrating, the pencil, Harrison Barnes. Barnesy. I'm really only frustrated because he played 19 minutes. He had 16 points with 2 rebounds and 3 threes. He doesn't do anything apart from score, but there are opportunities here for him to do a little bit more. He had an early locker room trip in the first half. He was fine after that, though. He's very much not a must-roster guy. It's just sort of streamable when the schedule makes it make sense. But it's hard to take huge amounts out of this game, considering, again, just a gigantic blowout. For the Raptors, no RJ Barrett, no DJ Carton, and then no Emmanuel Quickley for personal reasons. They said that they don't know when he's going to come back. He'll sort of get as much time as he needs. But so what does that mean? Does it mean 3 weeks? Does it mean just this game? I don't know. I did hear that obviously he's teammates with RJ Barrett here and teammates with RJ Barrett in New York. And I did hear that he was taking time to attend the funeral of RJ Barrett's brother. So if that was the case, then it's probably a 1 to 2 game scenario. They play again in Toronto on Friday. So, and then they go on the road after that. So I think that maybe he misses the next one. But I don't think this is going to be... I think it is related to RJ Barrett's personal absences and not his own issues. So I don't think it's a longer term thing. We finally got a decent game out of Ochai Agbaji. 13 points in 30 minutes with 3 steals. No, absolutely not. While Gary Trent had 18 with 6 rebounds and 4 threes. Trent is taking every opportunity to show how bad he is of a passer, but also an ability to be a scorer and generate shots because nobody else can. There's going to be some bad field goals like there was here, but he's got the opportunity here. Olynyk played 30 minutes, 9, 3, and 4 with 2 blocks. That's enough to keep holding on. And Bruce Brown started, and 9, 5, and 6. Is that good enough to be a must roster? I think you probably have to, but it's not inspiring, nor am I excited about Dick. Grady had 5 points in 32 minutes. He had 3 assists. He shot 13%. After looking like he'd maybe turned the corner, Dick has really sort of retracted here. I don't think... Yeah, look, I don't know. You do what you want, however you want to live your life and manage a team. I'm not holding Dick, unless it's under very specific circumstances. I think there'll be a time where we can get Dick back in to your rotation or to your lineup, but the time for Dick is not now.
Get that garbage out of here.
Thanks, John. Jonte Porter had been killing it. He played 3 minutes, left the game because he was ill. I think we might have known that beforehand. It would be good to have known it. Or it would be good if, because the team knew that he was sick, just say, don't play my guy. We had Mo Gay sightings. 3 points for Mo in 13 minutes. I didn't see any Gay Dick jersey swaps at the end, maybe because they play for the same teams. Oh, man, that was a complete unintended pun. Anyway, Mo Gay, cool. Mamadou Gay versus the other Muhammad Gay for Atlanta. 3 points for Gay. I guess he would have to get minutes if Porter remains ill for the next one. I'd like to hold Jonte because he was putting up really strong numbers, and I don't think this is a long-term thing, but this team is currently just a mess. Old mate Jordan Nwora only played 17 minutes, which is annoying. He had 13 and 2, and he's sneakily moving into being a 12-team option, while we got 21 minutes out of Javon Freeman Liberty and 11 points in 22 minutes from Jamias Ramsey. And I don't feel comfortable about trusting any of those blokes whatsoever. And I don't think you should either. Today's episode is also brought to you by BetterHelp. BetterHelp, yep. Sometimes you need to get things off your chest. You need to rant. You need to rave. You need to talk about trivial things. You need to talk about it to someone who's unbiased in your life. You might be talking to, like, a therapist can be someone unbiased in your life. You'll be saying, hey, I am playing in my fantasy championships, and I decided I wanted to go all in on Dick. And they went, hang on a second. But yeah, no, Dick. Grady Dick plays for Toronto. I added Dick, and I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand what Dick was giving me. And they went, come on, are we talking about the same thing here? And you went, yes. BetterHelp therapist, help me get this off my chest. You want to get Dick off your chest? Yes, I do. That is what I want, and I want you to help me with it. And they said, fine. Because with therapy can be tailored to whatever you need. Something small, a problem with Dick. Something big, more to do with your family, workplace, relationships, whatever it is. There can be many different things in your life that require resolution, and seeking out therapy to get the tools that you need to deal with these problems, it can be awesome. It can really, really help. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. Visit betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Okay, what's the next game? We've done 3 of them. Let's get on to the fourth one, which was probably the biggest game of the day. Unfortunately, players were out. The Milwaukee Bucks and the Boston Celtics. In this one, Jason Tatum returned for Boston. That meant Peyton Pritchard moved to the bench. Al Horford was back. So Luke Cornett moved to the bench. Kristaps Porzingis, he was still around. Everyone was back except for Drew Holiday, who, interesting they rested him again. The Kings of Load Management did it, though. 122 Boston, 119 Milwaukee. There was no Giannis in this one as well after Glenn Rivers lied about Giannis's injury severity. Thank you, doctor. And Damian Lillard without Giannis put up another good game. 32 points, 6 dribbles, 6 assists, 52%. He's been great without Giannis. Back again to being the 11th ranked player over the last 2 weeks. Chris Middleton, been out for a month with an ankle problem. Missed the start of the year with a knee issue. Was on a minutes limit for about 17 light years. This time he comes back and plays 33 in game 2. If you can predict it, good luck to you. You're doing way better than me. 33 minutes for Middleton, 22, 6 and 6, 73%. He looks great. The problem is they've got a back-to-back coming up, which is right now. So does he play tomorrow? Honestly, there was zero chance he was going to play. The fact that he drops a 33-minute with apparently no minutes restrictions in game 2 makes me go, what if he just does play the back-to-back? I don't know anymore. Punch Bob with no Giannis had 24 and 15. Big game from Portis. While Lopez still just 21 minutes. Bad. 8, 2 and 4 with 2 blocks. Now Lopez has been nowhere near a must-roster guy last few weeks. The Bucks do have a very strong schedule next week, so I do get holding through that, but the production is just not continually good. While Leaky Beasley had 6 points. He had 8 shots, and he hit 2 threes. So the 2 threes are good, but everything else is trash. Well, speaking of trash, Jay Crowder had 7 in his 15 minutes as Connaughton and Beverly got more playing time than him. That's a little bit harder to trust the production for someone like that. So in this Celtics team, which was sort of, Sam Hauser was also out for the Celtics. It's sort of full strength. Derek White was awesome again. 37 minutes, 23, 5 and 8 with 2 blocks. Tatum had 31, 8 and 4, 3 steals and 2 blocks. Jalen Brown, 21 and 8 on some rough shooting, but otherwise good. And Porzingis played 28 minutes and had 17 points, no blocks, but 38% shooting. The next question is going to be what happens on the back-to-back Friday, Saturday. Does Drew play both of them? Jalen, Jason, Derek, Al? No. Porzingis? No. Peyton Pritchard was great again, 31 minutes. Now, in other games where Holiday's missed, Horford started, which is what he did here. Horford had 38 minutes, 8 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, steal, and a block. That's great, and you roll with him whenever he starts. But Pritchard also got 31 minutes, and that hasn't been the case. 19, 6 and 3 with 5 threes. He is on a really good hot streak at the moment, Peyton Pritchard. And there's going to be a chance, I would think, across that back-to-back for him to play big minutes in at least 1, maybe 2 games. Because one of the games is against Detroit, the other one is against the Bulls. And I reckon Boston might feel pretty confident about knocking those teams off. They win anyway. It doesn't matter who they play, it appears. So there is some value there in Pritchard. We had Xavier Tillman getting minutes over Luke Cornett. That one's really tough to predict. Although Friday, Saturday, with Porzingis and Horford likely to sit, I would think that Cornet moves back into streaming territory. And if Hauser was available, then yeah, we'd be interested in getting him involved as well. The next game was the Utah Jazzmen up against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Bryce Sensabaugh moved back into the starting lineup, replacing Lauri Markkanen. This is the first game of a back-to-back for the Jazz. We don't know whether Markkanen's going to play tomorrow. We don't know whether the man on the street, Jordan Clarkson, is going to play either. The Thunder win at 119-107 for the Jazz. Sexton played only 30 minutes here, but he had 25, 5, and 7 with 2 steals. And Taylor Hendricks, a little bit disappointing with the minutes. He played only 24, but 12 points, 2 threes, 4 rebounds, 3 blocks. The scaffolding of an excellent fantasy player here. I think we want to hold him, but it might not be very good tomorrow. That's possible with Markkanen back. They also benched him in part of the second quarter because Johnny Juzang was going off. Johnny Collins had 16 points in only 23 minutes. Walker Kessler played only 23 minutes as well. He had 4 and 8. And it was a bad one from Keontae George. George's minutes are down recently, like significantly down. He still had 9.7 rebounds on 21%. And despite this stinker, he's the 89th ranked player over the last 2 weeks. But it is trending down. Don't drop him, but it is trending down. Sensabaugh, 4 points in 20 minutes, 25% shooting. Even with Markkanen out, we're not really going with him at the moment, I don't think. They're chucking in blokes like Johnny Juzang, who had 9 points in 20 minutes, 16 useless minutes out of Taylor and Horton Tucker. Of course, they lost. And 15 Micah Potter minutes. Potter. For the Thunder, the big fella, Chesterfield Holmgren, 35 and 14 with 2 steals and 3 blocks. What a monster from him. H-I-M. Shea had 31, 3 and 7 with 4 steals on big numbers, while the Bronco had 18, 2 and 4. Good numbers from all of those legends. Lou Dort did not start the second half. It was Kaysan Wallace who jumped in. Wallace had 5 points with 2 steals. He's an interesting, deeper steal streamer, but that's it. Still really like him long term. Well, we know we're not rostering Dort in 12s. He had 9 points, and Giddy played 26. He had 5 points, 22% shooting, but 11 rebounds, 8 assists, and a block. And still, in low minutes where you just want to keep jacking him off, you see the numbers and you go, I probably do hold that, which is annoying because it's just he's on that frustrating edge of like, okay, he's there. Do I move? The minutes are bad, but now the production's up. Like, how do we judge it? Well, at the moment, we just got to ride out what Giddy's doing and I guess get that production out of him. And then if things go tits up later on, you move on. Isaiah Joe went scoreless, and I don't really know why I just mentioned it. Let's do the next one. It was the Clippers taking on the Portland Trailblazers. Interesting game. Old mate James Harden decided to do a closeout on a Kawhi Leonard three-pointer for some reason. The Clippers win at 116-103 is your final score here. Zubac's only 24 minutes again. 14 and 9, but 4 steals and 2 blocks is great. The minutes are the worry here with Zubac. We can keep holding for now, but the minutes are a concern. Harden had 19, 4 and 14 in 36 minutes. Paul George is on a real run at the moment. 27, 6 and 4 with 2 steals and a block. And Kawhi sort of seemed to hurt his wrist a little bit in this one. Watch that. He only played 28 minutes. He had 24 points. He had 4 steals. He shot 56%, but just a little bit off. There was no Norm Powell. There's no Terrence Mann. So Amir Coffey, the Farmers Union, started 11 points in 31 minutes for him. As I forgot, I realized I forgot to do the lineups graphic. Well, you know what? That's just not going to fly for me. So we're going to have to do that now. I apologize. I just want to do it because, if I spend the time doing it, I'm doing it. Amir Coffey replaced Terrence Mann in the starting lineup. There you go. That's how you do it. Well, it's not how you do it. That's how you would do it if you were disorganized, which I usually aren't, but I was then. All right, so back into look at Game 6. Daniel Tice with 20 minutes. A weird game with Coffey getting those extra minutes. Bones Hyland basically out of the rotation. Played 5 minutes to start. They went, absolutely not. You're not coming back in. And then James Harden played almost every minute. And then Xavier Moon got back up point guard. So Hyland had that one game where he started in place of Harden where he was good. And then every other game they've just gone, no thank you. We are not interested in the slider. So even with Powell out, even with Mann out, we are not going towards the big stiffy. For the Blazers, Chris Murray went crazy early on. He ended up only with 17 points. I think he had 15 in the first half. It's a good game, but obviously we've seen him in bigger roles for a period of time, and he's done nothing with them. We're not running to add. I'm more interested in Jabari Walker, who had 12 points in 23 minutes with 2 triples and 2 steals. Interesting. Not quite there yet. While Simons was questionable before the game, Red ended up with 28 minutes, 14 and 4. Not his best. And finally, a good Scoot Henderson game. 35 minutes, 18 points, 2 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and It didn't even come with any good shooting. I was already in on him being a must-roster points guy. I'm sort of in on him being a must-roster category guy after that. Not quite, but sort of. And Delano Banton hurt your field goals, as he usually does. But the counting stats are still okay. 12, 3, and 6, he probably looks like a 12-team league guy. The Snowman, DeAndre Ayton, his worst game in a long time. 8 points in 26 minutes for the Sofa King with 7 rebounds on 40% shooting. Yeah, look, he's going to be better. This team is still going to be wildly weird and stuff going on all over the shop because of, because of the tanking, the incentives and all that sort of thing. But the guys we're looking at now are Scoot and Banton, an eye on Walker, an eye on Murray, not interested in Kamara, at all. And, Ayton we're still holding until, something changes, which it might, and it probably will. All right, let's do the second last game of the night. Yeah, the Phoenix Suns beat the Philadelphia 76ers 115-102. This one, probably not as close as that final score would suggest. We had 12 minutes of Jeff Doughton, Ricky Council. It's hard to read too much of this. The fourth quarter was garbage time. Now, Doughton put up good numbers. 12, 2, and 5. Council had 10 points. Campaign had 12. But honestly, what are we doing here? Kelly Oubre had another defensive monster. That's 8 blocks for Oubre in the last 2 games. We obviously know he doesn't do this all the time, but these are great numbers. Unfortunately, he shot 35% from the field on 20 attempts and went 2 of 4 from the line. But 18, 5, and 4, 3 steals and 3 blocks is great. It's just wholly unreliable. What else do we get? Paul Reed ended up with 28 minutes despite coming off the bench. He had 4 points only, but 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, and 2 blocks. You literally can't ask for more. Well, you can ask for more, but you shouldn't expect more. That's basically what Paul Reed does, and if he didn't shoot 2 of 9, it would have ended up much better. Healed, only 15 minutes.
Get that garbage out of here.
7 points. Maxey played 29 with 6 points, and Lowry had 5, 3, and 7. They're just bad at the moment, the Sixers. For the Suns, another absolute flamethrower from Grayson Allen. 32 points, 9 triples, and 5 assists. This man is dominating. I don't know what's going on, but he is. Durant also, after some down games, was awesome. 22, 8, and 4 with 3 blocks. Booker had 18, 9, and 11. And it was Bradley Beal's time to suffer. 3 points on 17%. He did add 7 assists. He had 6 rebounds with 2 blocks, so at least some other production numbers there. But they had been sort of focusing more on Beal than Durant, but it switched around here. Nurkic had 10 and 15, but again, this game was such a blowout. It's hard to take huge pieces or huge takeaways away from it. The final game was also a blowout. It was the Memphis Grizzlies losing to the Golden State Warriors 137-116. The Grizzlies ran again a tight rotation. Santi Aldama was going crazy, including getting into fights with Draymond. 27-9 with 6 dribbles, 2 steals, and a block. He'd been mid for all season, and now he is turning it on in a big way. You got to roster him. Well, Greg Jackson's also doing a lot. 35 minutes for GG, 35 and 5 with 7 dribbles. He's efficient. He's getting a lot of minutes. I don't know if or when Vince Williams returns, but for now, we've got to have GG, even though the Grizzlies' schedule's rough. Jaren Jackson was efficient also, 28 and 4. And then what happened to Des Bane? After playing so well in the first 2 games and exceeding all my expectations and playing way more minutes, he ends up with 24 minutes and has 6 points on 15% shooting. And it's going to get to that stage there. Their next game's on Friday against the Spurs. Does he play? Does Jaren play? And then if they don't, well, that means that in this week of the playoffs, if you added Bane after his return, it actually wasn't worth it. Because he's had 1 good game, 1 terrible game, and then maybe a 0. You can't drop him after this, but look, we'll see what happens. LaRavia, solid enough, although the shooting is bad. 12, 5, and 3, that's like streamable. Well, Johnny Conchar went scoreless, but he does some other stuff. 7 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal. It's all okay. It's still hard to know what's going to happen because we had 20 minutes of DeJounte Jarreau. We had 25 minutes of Trey Jemison. And my man, Malzinho Pereira, played 6 minutes. But Williams might return, Kennard might return, Stevens might play, Watanabe might play, Smart might come back, Pippen might play, Clark will come back. It's all still up in the air. And next game will be very, very telling against the San Antonio Spurs. The Warriors, big game from Wiggins, 29 minutes, 22 and 10, while Kuminga had 26, 5 and 4 with 2 steals. Big games from both of those guys. And Chris Paul got his minutes back up. He'd played 20 minutes in the 2 previous games. He ends up with 12 points and 14 assists on this one. Steph didn't need to do much, just 14 points, while Pajemski scored only 2, but he had 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals. We don't have to roster Pajemski, but again, this game is a blowout. Trace Jackson-Davis, if it wasn't for the bad free throws, would have had a great line. 13, 5, and 2 with 2 blocks. I believe he's a must-roster player. I would roster him over Wiggins. I would roster him over Pajemski as well. Draymond, 10, 12, and 7 in 24. But honestly, these last 2 games were such blowouts, I don't really know that there's massive or gigantic takeaways from them. Now, I'm not going to do the full presentation here in terms of the lines of the night or anything like that, because I'm in a little bit of a rush, but the monstrous line of the night and the young gun of the night was Chet Holmgren. Your waiver wire line of the night was Santi Aldama. And now for the big reveal. Who was the dud of the night? Let's go down and have a look. Des Bane. 6 points, 15% shooting, 1 rebound, 4 assists. And then the big thing will occur. We'll see what happens with this guy when they play on Friday. Or if he plays. Big question coming up. All right, do not forget to go and hit that old subscribe button. Go and hit the thumbs up and leave your comments down below. I feel like I'm missing something. Anyway, guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.